Please subscribe and you can download this code from description below. In this tutorial, we will explore how to partition a list of strings in Python using an equivalence relation. Partitioning involves dividing a list into smaller sublists or groups based on a specific condition or relation. In this case, we will partition a list of strings based on an equivalence relation, which determines whether two strings belong to the same group. Partitioning is a common operation in data analysis and manipulation. It allows you to group elements in a list based on a specific criterion. For example, you might want to partition a list of names into sublists where each sublist contains names that start with the same letter. In this tutorial, we'll focus on partitioning a list of strings using an equivalence relation. An equivalence relation is a binary relation that is reflexive, symmetric, and transitive. This means it satisfies the following properties. We will use these properties to determine whether two strings are related and should be grouped together. Before we proceed, let's define an equivalence relation for our partitioning task. In this example, we will use the equivalence relation that two strings belong to the same group if they are anagrams of each other. An anagram is a word or phrase formed by rearranging the letters of another. To partition a list of strings based on the equivalence relation, anagrams in this case, we can follow these steps. Let's see how this algorithm can be implemented in Python. In this code example, the function partition _strings _by _equivalence takes a list of strings as input and returns a list of partitions based on the equivalence relation, anagrams. It uses a dictionary to group related strings and then converts the dictionary values into a list of partitions. In this tutorial, you learned how to partition a list of strings in Python using an equivalence relation. We used the example of anagrams as the equivalence relation to group strings that share the same set of characters. You can apply this concept to various other partitioning tasks based on different equivalence relations to organize and analyze your data efficiently. ChatGPT. Partitioning a list of strings based on an equivalence relation is a common task in programming, and Python provides several methods to achieve this. In this tutorial, we'll explore how to partition a list of strings using an equivalence relation and provide code examples to help you understand the process. Before we get started, make sure you have Python installed on your system. You can download and install Python from the official website, https://www.python.org/downloads. An equivalence relation is a binary relation on a set that is reflexive, symmetric, and transitive. In the context of partitioning a list of strings, an equivalence relation defines whether two strings are equivalent or belong to the same group. For this tutorial, we'll consider strings to be equivalent if they share the same length. One way to partition a list of strings is to use a dictionary where the keys represent the equivalence classes, and the values are lists of strings belonging to each class. Here's an example using a dictionary. In this example, we create a dictionary where the keys are string lengths, and the values are lists of strings of that length. This code will partition the input list into equivalence classes based on string length. The itertools module in Python provides a powerful function called groupby that can be used for partitioning based on an equivalence relation. Here's an example using groupby. In this example, we first sort the list of strings based on their lengths, and then use groupby to group them into equivalence classes based on the length of the strings. Partitioning a list of strings using an equivalence relation is a useful operation in many scenarios. Python offers several methods to accomplish this task, and in this tutorial, we've covered two common approaches, using a dictionary and using itertools.groupby. You can choose the method that best suits your specific needs. Experiment with these methods to partition your lists of strings efficiently based on your desired equivalence relation. ChatGPT.